Hello and welcome to On Air with me, Muralee Nair. On Air is a platform that brings you interesting people, quiet achievers, people who've done the hard yard and who have made a difference in a variety of ways in our world. They are inspired and very inspiring. Today we meet Audrey Pereira. Welcome, Audrey, to On Air.
Hi, Murali. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. There are many people who are who need to know the fantastic work that you've been doing over the many years. Audrey, you're basically a flag bearer of the arts. You're based in Singapore, but your amazing work cuts across the borders. How do you create, nurture this beautiful space in our world? And how significant is this space?
Wow, that's a big question, Murali. I think I didn't set out to nurture and create a space as such. I think it came from a desire to share experiences that I had. I was fortunate to have, um, and I wanted other people to experience those things too. That's really how it started for me.
So it's sort of your tagline, passion and purpose, sort of summarizes the work that you've been doing, perhaps very quietly, unassumingly, but making such a big difference to so many people around the world.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you've just come off a very, very hectic schedule.
Mm.
You were very involved in a project called Colony. Uh, what inspired Colony? What is it? What is Colony?
I need to give you a little bit of history before I talk specifically about Colony. I was appointed to create a festival in 2018 that was around artists with disabilities. It was fueled by the belief that if we gave artists with disabilities a stage and an audience, people would begin to change their perception of disability. They would begin to see talent first and ability first before seeing disability, which is really what we tend to do by default, right? We notice a disability first before we see anything else. It's just social conditioning, I guess. Um, so when that happened in 2018, we had fully meant to continue, and but then COVID struck in 2020, and we had to delay our plans. We had to go online and so on. So now we're in 2025. At about a year and a half, yeah, about a year and a half ago, I began to feel that I really wanted to create something in Singapore again because Singapore is where True Colors was born in 2018, and I always wanted to bring it back. Um, so I teamed up with Ramesh Panikar, who's the artistic director for Colony. We came up with some ideas. We were not happy with them, but somehow last year when we came up with the idea for Colony, we both felt it was the right thing. You know, instinctively we felt that this is what we wanted to do as a way to bring True Colors back to Singapore with a somewhat evolved message.
It's very interesting the route that you've taken because it brings back a certain memory of my experience way back in 1978 or 79, I think, when we staged a play called Little Murders. And we had in our cast someone who had suffered polio, um, and obviously, a bit of disability. But few days before we went on stage before curtains, I mean, he backed off. And when I spoke with him, he said that he wasn't sure how the audience would receive him. And in your experience, I mean, so many years later now, has there been a more positive reception, or is there more acceptance of this, of people's different abilities, I guess?
Definitely, we're in a better place than we were even 5 years ago. But I think a certain narrative still persists. Um, it's a narrative that's about seeing the disability and seeing the performers with disability in a certain light, um, which separates them from the rest. Often it's in the fundraising context. So you're more forgiving because it's for fundraising purposes. So they've almost never been seen, or producers have tried, but we haven't succeeded in equalizing. We haven't succeeded in normalizing the participation of artists with disabilities on mainstream arts stages. We haven't got that. We haven't managed that yet. I mean, that's very much a part of what I want to push for. Colony really represents one of the strongest efforts so far, I believe. Certainly, in my experience with True Colors all these years, this is the strongest level of participation, equal participation that I've ever been involved with.
So would I be correct to say that you're feeling positive about it, that that it's going along the positive lines, and there might be setbacks, but generally tracking along well. Would that be
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I would say you're right. We still have a ways to go. And it's not just a sort of a one strand where we're showing something and everybody understands. It's dealing with individual attitudes, cultural practices, um, acceptance or non-acceptance of disability. Also, whether you've actually had experience with disability in your life. Like when I started True Colors in 2018, I had no direct contact with disability um, in my life. It was a first time, very steep learning curve. And there are many people like me. We don't mean to discriminate, and we certainly don't mean to discriminate, but we do because we don't understand enough. We don't know how to communicate appropriately. We're afraid of offending. So rather than do all that, we stay a step back behind a wall, even though our hearts might be fully wanting to accept and embrace. We're afraid to cause hurt or offense or embarrassment to ourselves and to the other person. So it's just easier to stay away, right?
No, it is. And it's interesting because one of On Air's previous guests, Srikant Gopalakrishnan, who's also in the arts, he was very excited when I told him that I was meeting up with you for our online on-air conversation. And when he heard your focus, he was saying, "Oh, I must collaborate with Audrey, or at least get to know the work that she's doing." So I felt very positive, encouraged. And I think what we want to do with On Air is to bring about collaborative efforts to have positive news. I guess you
Yeah,
know what I mean.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, Murali, you were involved. You've always been involved in the arts from school and university days. So have I. But I think along the way we dropped out. We focused on our careers, and then I came back to it. For me, if we feel that one of the things that the arts should reflect is reality and society at large, then we are really falling short. Because okay, so the UN estimates that 15% of the world's population has a disability. That is a severe underestimation because it's based on individuals in different countries who are registered as having a disability. And then there's, of course, the whole invisible disability spectrum as well. So the 15% is very conservative. But if we're saying that 15% of people have a disability. Shouldn't there be more representation on stage? It comes down to that, isn't it?
Yes, and I think it's timely that we start talking about it in an open and mature way so that some of these issues are highlighted and people who might otherwise shy away come to the fore and put up their hands to be part of this whole artistic process, whether it's art. I think sports has done quite well as well, but I think there's so much scope in the arts, and the arts is a fantastic leveler because, as you would know, the project and the brings about a certain spirit, certain adventure in the mind, a certain collective responsibility, and coming together is so important. Like with all performances, I'm sure, Audrey, the last day, when curtains come down for the final time is the saddest moment. But
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Now
Yeah,
I just
hmm, go
no,
ahead.
carry on.
No, sad is one emotion because you're at the end of a journey. But I think for everyone it was a different. It was a whole cocktail of emotions because we had 7 dancers without disabilities and 6 with. And for all of them, it was the first time they had ever been put into a petri dish. As somebody described it, we put these dancers into a petri dish and we let it go. We let it. We step back to see what would happen. So just sharing with the dancers along the way, it was a huge transformational thing for many of them, especially the non-disabled dancers,
Right,
because it was the first time they had such close proximity. They were working with various disabilities. Like one of them said, for a professional dancer, it's always about improving yourself, making sure that you're the best dancer on the floor. And for her, it was the first time observing other people with different styles, different needs, different abilities, and realizing that it doesn't have to be a competition. I don't have to be the best, but I have to be the best partner that I can be to this fellow dancer. So it
right.
was for a young person. I mean, all the dancers, the Singapore non-disabled dancers are all in their 20s. Very transformational. They had never experienced anything like this. And also they were chosen by our choreographer, Andy, chosen because they have the heart. This wasn't going to be just another gig for a professional dancer. They had to want to be invested in this long process, this 3-month long process of learning how to navigate with other kinds of bodies. So Andy chose his dancers carefully. They weren't all out to showcase themselves, or if they had any inclination of that at the start, it worked its way out um, as they got closer.
Well done to your team. I suppose they all sort of came together, and there was that, obviously the symbiotic success of coming together. Um, I
Totally.
just you've made mention of the true colors. For the benefit of for me and our viewers, what is true colors?
Okay. It's really an initiative that was started by the Nippon Foundation in Japan. No relation to Nippon Paint, which also has a foundation, but this is the Nippon Foundation. It's one of the largest philanthropic foundations in Japan, and they do a lot of work in the space of disability empowerment, R&D, prosthetic aids, employability training, and so on around the world. And one of their pillars was always the arts. So the idea of showcasing artists with disabilities actually began with them. And in the early 2000s, they started funding small festivals in Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos. Each of those festivals was a local one. and it had its own title. And then when they drew their trajectory, Singapore was the next logical choice. But they decided because it was Singapore, it had to be an Asia Pacific edition and not a local edition, because the plan was to have the global edition in the year of the Tokyo Olympics. So kind of a natural build up in scale. And so I was appointed through a beautiful set of synchronicity uh, um, circumstances. And one of the names that I came up with, in fact, the name I wanted the most was True Colors, the title of the festival. And when I presented it to them, they fell in love with the name too. And they said, okay, henceforth, all the events will be called True Colors Festival. Uh, no more changing of names,
A
which of
testimony
course,
to, yeah,
yeah, which of course made sense, because now we're not talking about small local events anymore. We're talking about regional and global. There's no good reason to change the name. You should build the brand. And
right.
I guess everyone was more conscious by then as well about the brand. That we wanted a brand that stood for something. So they loved the reason why I picked True Colors, and they loved the fact that it is a common phrase that we use. It's got many layers of meaning, and it's easily understood. You can also do a lot logo wise, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it has much to offer,
Yes,
and
much to offer.
and a lot of meaning. And I think that's the substantive part of the true colors, the name itself. Um, Audrey, just moving on to a hurdle that you actually faced, because it was intended for the Tokyo Olympics, wasn't it? But
Yes.
COVID struck and there were some delays.
Yeah, so we had always been working towards 2020 in Tokyo after Singapore. We tried to stay with the Tokyo Olympic plan,
Is it? Okay.
but you remember how crazy and difficult it was for the Tokyo Olympics organizers. There was so much at stake. Do we cancel? Do we delay? Do we, so much money going down the drain in the process. So finally, the Nippon Foundation decided, look, we have to separate. We have to de-link from the Paralympics, because it's not going to serve us at all. So then the decision was, okay, in 2022, surely by then we will be able to have a live concert. The chairman of the foundation absolutely did not want a hybrid or an online experience. He wanted a live concert in Tokyo. So it did happen in 2022. And after that, we took a break. It took a lot out of us to deliver that concert. It was still COVID. The clouds were clearing, but COVID was still very much alive.
No, it was one of those things that needed the impetus and the push, and it deserved the center stage that it finally did get in Tokyo. Well done, Audrey, and to the entire team. Must have involved a lot of people, having that faith and wanting it.
Yeah, absolutely. Having that faith. But the world was in such a bad state at that time. But you reach a certain point in a project when it's too late to turn back,
Right.
because you've invested too much already. The loss would be too great. I remember at the time the yen was crashing. The artist fees had been negotiated in USD. It was a
Right.
nightmare for the foundation. I can tell you, it was a nightmare. But we sold it on. A very interesting cross-cultural team. The creative team was Singaporean. The production team was Japanese. Uh, it was all split between two countries. Not the easiest circumstances, but somehow we pulled it off. This army of people pulled it off. Yeah.
That's well done, and I think the world needed a compassionate, caring message, which I think the True Colors brought out. And I read somewhere that you have True Colors has 3.4 million, a million audience of 3.4 million. What does that mean? Is it a significant data point or is it just one of those numbers?
It it's significant depending on who you ask. If you are talking about a big brand like Nike or Reebok or any of those, it's not significant, obviously. But for us, it's significant because we never had a huge marketing budget, and and the 3.4 million, I must qualify, it's a very literal number because we tracked. I'll give you an idea of how we did it. Between 2018, which was a huge festival over a weekend that we could count, we released two original music videos, three documentaries. We had online events. So all of those enabled us to count the number of viewers, the number of subscribers. We had two online film festivals as well. And we could track, because of the software that the platform used, we could track how many people watched the movies for how long, and all of that. So very, very literal. And we wanted to be completely as honest as we could be, because it's quite rampant that people fudge figures, because it's hard to prove or disprove, right? And we, as a principle, I mean, I felt this way from the time I used to run WOMAD. We cannot fudge the figures. Why do, let's just not. Don't get caught in a lie, and for what, you know? So we were as honest as we could be. We could explain every figure, the number of artists we'd worked with over the years, all of those things. We could explain the rationale for all of it. That gave us a lot of confidence to put that figure out. So yeah, for some people it's like, so what? All this time at only 3.4 million. But to us is, no, it's okay. We're not trying to take over the world with some big branding strategy. Let's just do what we can do and build from there.
Now, you just mentioned WOMAD, and I believe that your early dive into the arts came about through WOMAD Singapore. What is WOMAD, and what is the genesis of your involvement in WOMAD?
Well, I was still in the media, Murali, when I encountered WOMAD. I had left the Straits Times.
WOMAD is
World of Music, Arts and Dance. It's a world music festival that was founded by Peter Gabriel in 1982. Peter Gabriel of Genesis. I spent the longest time in print media, either magazines or newspapers or both. I freelanced for many years. So when I encountered WOMAD in Australia, I was actually on a media trip. I was invited to Australia to experience three festivals, one of which is the festival in Perth, the Western Australian Arts Festival.
Okay.
One was WOMAD and one was the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras. And I was assigned to write a story about WOMAD for Business Times and the business of the festival. And that's how I got to meet the founders. And one thing led to another. They told me they wanted to come to Singapore, but they didn't know who to contact. So I volunteered to help connect them. And I ended up working for WOMAD and bringing it to Singapore after 3 very difficult years of people just looking at me skeptically, like, what the hell is WOMAD? It's not even a word. And where's Burkina Faso? Who are these people?
No,
I think
but it's
the idea ahead of his time. World music was very nascent at that time. There was a small following, but mainstream funders, like, what? Who are these people?
would
Where's
have made
Reunion Island? You're asking us to listen to drummers from Burundi. What? Why?
would have made the study of geography so much more interesting.
Oh,
Go and
absolutely.
attend WOMAD. Now, very quickly, your transition from an award-winning journalist to the arts, leap of faith, madness, what was it? Or just passion?
I think passion. I didn't leave journalism as such, you know. I mean, I left journalism for WOMAD, and then I came back to it again, magazine publishing for several years. But I kept my, kept my foot in the door because I wanted to end up finally in the arts. I still write freelance
Right.
occasionally. I don't want to lose, you get rusty as a writer. You know this, Murali. If you don't write for too long, it just becomes very difficult to write at all. It's a muscle. You have to keep using it, right? So I always maintain a certain level of that. But yeah, I think it was passion and wanting people to experience how powerful it can be. I mean, WOMAD was really the springboard for me because part of that first experience was actually being at the festival. And I was just blown away and I felt like, oh gosh, I wish people in Singapore could experience this
Mm.
beautiful feeling of connection, where nothing else matters except that moment when you're listening to an artist, a great artist with other people. Yeah, I just wanted that very much.
I'm just going to wrap this up, but I have a very interesting question to ask you. You've got a beautiful daughter. I think she's based in London, and she's come up with a program called Rare Fluence. Could you
Yes.
please tell us very quickly a little bit about Rare Fluence?
Refluence is based on Maya's belief that
Maya
every
is Maya's your
Maya's
daughter.
my daughter. It's based on Maya's belief that every individual has a rare form of influence that they could have if they knew it. And she started this as a small movement more than a year ago, bringing people together in different settings and creating spaces where people would feel comfortable to open up and talk about themselves, um, share ideas, collaborate down the road, just bringing people together in a way that we're not always used to. Yeah, so I'm really proud of her because it's a very, very deceptively simple idea, but it's based on a very beautiful belief.
That's right. That's right. No, it is beautiful, which is why I picked it up and I thought that she deserves mention. A young person doing what is right. And that's what the world needs. And knowing her from the time she was born, very, very proud of her.
Thank you.
Audrey, thank you for being part of On Air and sharing your experiences. Um, the past many years, you've done very inspired. You've been very inspiring to many. I know that one of your key strengths is bringing people together, and the amazing thing is that they enjoy working with the type of projects that you bring to the stage. For our viewers, you can Facebook Audrey Pereira, LinkedIn Audrey Pereira, and I'm sure you'll find out so much more about the work that she does, and it deserves to be known. Audrey, thank you very much.
Thank you, Murali. Can I just say one thing though?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm often in the leadership role as the producer, but I have to say that, without like-minded professionals, with all the same heart that I have, without them, none of this would work. You can have the best ideas, but if you can't carry them out because you don't have the right people, it's not going to happen. And I'm always, always, always cognizant of that and grateful for that. You know,
Yes,
my job is
the
to make sure that they can do their work. My job is that
yeah,
get
and
everything so that they can work.
Audrey, believe me, when you have a noble idea, the universe will conspire to make sure that it happens. And I'm so glad that it's happened so many times for you. And I wish you every success in continuing this journey with
Thank
all
you,
the
Marie.
experiences and the people who come with it.
Thank
And
you.
to our viewers, thank you for being with Audrey on air and with me. Please like, comment, subscribe to this program. And from my producers, Tenzin and Lakshima, I say thank you, and especially to Audrey. Thank you.
Thank you, Muralee, for the opportunity. I'm always happy to share. Thank you. And to all of you whom I can't see, thank you.
There are a few of them.
Like, comment, and subscribe.